Welcome to Daily Review, your daily dose of literary exploration. We dive into books that spark curiosity and ignite growth.
While our passion often leads us to nonfiction reads that empower and improve your life, no book is off limits.
From gripping thrillers to insightful memoirs and compelling fiction to historical accounts, we're here to share and discuss all the interesting reads we discover.
Tune in for your next great book idea.
Okay, so today we're taking a stack of sources, mostly excerpts from this really fascinating book on sleep science.
Yeah, and we're diving deep into something that's, well, fundamental, often overlooked, maybe, but incredibly impactful: sleep.
Exactly. And our mission here is really to help you. We want to pull out the most important stuff, the surprising insights from this material.
Help you understand why sleep isn't just downtime, why it's essential for pretty much everything, and, crucially, what happens when you don't get enough.
Because, it seems so basic, right? We all do it. Or try to.
Yeah, but for centuries it was this huge biological puzzle. Like, how could something so universal be so hard for science to figure out?
It really is one of those big mysteries, only solved relatively recently. You think about eating, drinking, reproducing.
We've known why we do those things for ages. But sleep. Why do we actually sleep? Scientists they didn't have a solid answer until pretty recently.
Which is wild from an evolutionary perspective. Sleeping makes you super vulnerable.
Totally. Can't get food, can't socialize, can't mate, can't protect your kids.
Right. From a pure survival angle, it looks like maybe the most foolish thing nature could have come up with. Why keep something so risky?
And that was the big question. But now the science is overwhelming. Thousands of studies point to the same thing.
Which is?
There are basically no biological functions tested, not a single one, that don't get a significant boost from a good night's sleep.
Wow, no exceptions.
None found so far. It's the single best thing you can do every single day to reset your brain and body. It's even been called Mother Nature's best effort yet at contra-death.
Contra-death, that's powerful.
Yeah.
The author mentioned spending 20 years trying to answer this, thinking it would take 2.
Yeah, it just shows how deep it goes. And despite all this evidence, the real dangers of not sleeping enough, they haven't really been communicated well to the public.
Like a huge blind spot in our health conversations.
Exactly, a major omission.
Okay, so let's dig into the biology then. What's actually running the show inside us? The sources talk about our internal clocks.
That's your circadian rhythm, your body's natural internal 24-hour-ish clock. There was early evidence, like back in 1729.
Oh yeah, the plants. Their leaves kept moving even without sunlight. They had their own rhythm.
Right. They weren't just reacting. And humans, too. That famous Mammoth Cave experiment. Kleitman and Richardson living underground for 32 days.
Completely cut off from light cues. But they still kept regular sleep-wake cycles.
Exactly. And that showed us the internal clock isn't precisely 24 hours. It's circadian around a day. For most people, it averages about 24 hours and 15 minutes.
Okay, so if it's a bit longer than 24 hours, how does it stay synced up with the actual day?
That's the job of the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the SCN. Think of it as the brain's master clock.
Okay. It sits right above where your optic nerves cross, and it samples the light coming in through your eyes. Light is the main Zeitgeber, the time giver.
Zeitgeber, got it.
Yeah, it resets your SCN every day, keeping you aligned with the sun cycle.
And this SCN timing connects to chronotypes, right? Larks and owls.
Precisely. And your chronotype, whether you're naturally an early bird or a night owl, it's largely genetic, like DNA hardwiring.
So you don't choose to be a night owl?
Nope. You're born that way. And this is where modern life gets tough. Early school starts, early work times. They're biased towards larks.
Which forces owls into, chronic sleep debt.
Pretty much. And the sources link this forced schedule mismatch to higher rates of depression, anxiety, diabetes, heart problems later on for those night owls. It's not just inconvenient, it's a health issue.
Okay, so circadian rhythm handles the timing. What about the urge to sleep, that feeling of getting tired?
That's driven by a chemical called adenosine. Think of it like sleep pressure. It just builds up in your brain the entire time you're awake. So the longer you're awake, the more adenosine, the sleepier you feel.
Exactly. More pressure builds, stronger the drive to sleep.
And caffeine. That messes with adenosine.
Totally. Caffeine works by basically sitting in the adenosine receptors in your brain, blocking them.
So the adenosine can't signal tired.
Right.
Yeah.
Gives you that temporary alertness. But the adenosine is still building up behind the scenes, so when the caffeine wears off...
Crack time.
Yep. All that backed up adenosine floods the receptors, hence the crash.
Got it. Then there's melatonin. People talk about that a lot.
Melatonin's often called the darkness hormone. It doesn't really knock you out, but it signals the timing of sleep.
Like a race starter pistol.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Your brain releases it as natural light fades, telling your system, okay, nighttime is here, get ready for sleep.
But artificial light causes problems.
Huge problems. Even just moderate indoor lighting in the evening can suppress melatonin release. It tricks your SCN, delays your natural sleep onset. That's a big reason why people say they can't fall asleep until late.
So taking melatonin pills might help with something like jet lag.
Yeah, it can help reset the timing signal in the new time zone. It's mimicking that natural darkness cue.
Okay, so we have the internal clock, the sleep pressure chemical, the timing signal. What actually defines sleep itself? How is it different from just being unconscious?
Well, a few key things. You're less responsive to what's around you.
Harder to wake up.
Right, but it's reversible, unlike a coma. It follows that timed pattern set by your circadian rhythm. And you get that weird time distortion. You wake up and hours might have passed, but it doesn't feel like it.
And it's not just one state, right? We cycle through different kinds.
Absolutely. We cycle between NREM, non-rapid eye movement sleep, which has stages 1 through 4.
With 3 and 4 being the deep, slow wave sleep.
Exactly. And REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, that's our main dreaming stage. And brain waves look totally different.
How so?
Awake, your brain waves are fast, kind of chaotic, desynchronized.
Yeah.
Deep NREM, they become really slow, very synchronized. The source used a cool analogy.
The football stadium.
Yeah, like everyone chanting in unison, super coordinated. But then REM sleep, it looks almost like being awake on a brain scan. Very active, lit up.
Interesting. And the thalamus that's involved in blocking things out.
Right. The thalamus acts like a sensory gate. During deep NREM, it basically shuts down the flow of incoming sensory information sounds, sights from reaching your cortex.
Which is why you lose external consciousness and are hard to wake.
Precisely.
Okay. What about REM, the dreaming sleep? What's unique there?
Well, most famously, your body is usually paralyzed. Your brain actively inhibits your major muscle groups.
So you don't act out your dreams.
Exactly. Although sometimes that system can glitch, which leads to things like sleep paralysis or REM, sleep behavior disorder, and you have those rapid eye movements.
Are they actually tracking dream images?
Probably not directly tracking visuals, no.
Okay.
It seems more linked to the internal process of creating the REM state itself.
And evolutionarily. NREM is the older system.
Much older, found across many species. REM seems newer, really prominent only in birds and mammals.
Suggesting it evolved for functions NREM couldn't handle.
That's the idea. Both are absolutely vital, though.
So what happens if you pull an all-nighter? How does the brain try to recover? Does it prioritize one type?
Yeah, it does. The first recovery night, you'll see a massive rebound in deep NREM sleep first. That seems to be the most urgent need.
Okay.
Then on subsequent nights, REM sleep rebounds more strongly. But here's the really crucial part, the sobering takeaway from the sources.
Oh.
Your brain never comes close to getting back all the sleep you lost. You simply cannot sleep back lost hours like paying off a debt.
So you can't just catch up on the weekend?
Nope. That deficit accumulates. The damage adds up over time, leading to chronic sleep deprivation.
That's a really important point. Wow.
It really is. And just quickly, the sources mention some amazing animal adaptations too, like unihemispheric sleep.
Oh, right. Dolphins and whales.
Yeah.
Sleeping with half a brain.
Incredible, isn't it? One hemisphere sleeps while the other stays alert enough to keep them swimming and breathing, though it seems to only involve NREM sleep for them.
Fascinating. Okay, let's look at how sleep changes as we age, starting right from the beginning, even before birth.
Yeah, in the womb and in early infancy, REM sleep is actually the dominant stage. It's like electrical fertilizer for the developing brain.
Fertilizer. How so?
It stimulates the growth of neural pathways, helps form trillions of connections, synaptogenesis. Studies in baby rats showed that disrupting their REM sleep actually stalled brain development, especially in the cortex.
Wow. And the sources mentioned a possible link or correlation with autism.
Yes, it's an intriguing area. Individuals with autism consistently show 30-50% less REM sleep. Now, the human evidence is correlational.
Meaning we don't know if the REM deficit causes autism or is just associated with it.
Exactly. But given those rat studies showing REM deprivation impacts brain wiring and social behaviors, it's a really active area of research trying to understand if there's a causal link.
What about things that can interfere with infant sleep, like alcohol?
Yeah, unfortunately, alcohol consumed by the mother during pregnancy easily crosses the placenta. Newborns whose mothers drank heavily have less REM sleep, and the REM they do get is less intense. It also suppresses fetal breathing during REM.
And alcohol and breast milk, too.
Yep, that also impacts infant sleep patterns negatively.
So, as kids grow older, that REM dominance shifts.
It does. REM proportion decreases, NREM increases. By the time you're in your late teens, it usually settles into roughly an 80% NREM, 20% REM split per night.
And adolescence is a really critical period for deep NREM sleep.
Hugely critical. There's this massive surge in deep, slow-wave sleep intensity during the teen years. The sources say it helps overhaul and refine the brain.
Improving thinking skills and stuff.
Yeah, things like reasoning, critical thinking, judgment, and interestingly, these intense deep sleep changes actually happen before many of those cognitive leaps occur. Sleep seems to pave the way.
What about the other end of the lifespan? Older adults? Lots of people complain about sleep then.
It's very common. And sleep does naturally change. Deep sleep declines, the circadian rhythm can weaken a bit, melatonin release often drops.
There's something else going on too.
Often, yeah. A big issue is evening dozing or taking long naps late in the day, what the sources call pre-sleep napping.
Seems harmless enough.
You'd think so, but it bleeds off that adenosine sleep pressure we talked about. So when it's actually time for bed, there isn't enough pressure built up to fall asleep easily or stay asleep soundly.
Ah, so they think they have insomnia, but it's partly a scheduling or pressure issue?
Exactly. It gets misdiagnosed a lot.
And that decline in deep sleep specifically is linked to memory problems in older age.
Yes. Particularly the decline in sleep spindles, those bursts of activity during NREM sleep. Fewer spindles correlate strongly with a reduced ability to learn and remember new things the next day.
Is there anything older adults can do about shifting rhythms?
Well, one potential strategy mentioned is strategic bright light exposure, maybe in the late afternoon. It can help gently push their internal clock a bit later, maybe align it better with typical social schedules.
Okay, let's flip to the positive side again. The amazing benefits. What does sleep do for our memory?
Oh, it's huge for memory, both before and after learning. First, learning after sleep. Getting enough sleep actually restores your brain's ability to learn, like refreshing a sponge.
So you learn better when you're well rested. Makes sense.
Definitely. Studies show even a nap, especially with stage 2 NREM and those spindles, gives you like a 20% advantage in remembering stuff compared to just staying awake. A full night does the same.
And it helps save the memories you've already made.
Exactly. Sleep is like hitting the save button. It takes fragile new memories and consolidates them, moving them to safer long-term storage in the brain, protects them from being forgotten.
People knew this ages ago.
Yeah, the sources quote a Roman rhetorician from like AD 35 talking about sleep-supporting memory.
And sleep can even help recover lost memories.
Sometimes, yeah. Things you couldn't recall before sleep might suddenly become accessible afterward. It's like sleep runs a defrag and recovery program on your memory files.
And it's smart about it. Doesn't save everything.
Right. This targeted memory reactivation, or TMR, is fascinating. If you tag certain memories during learning, say, with a sound cue played quietly, sleep will selectively strengthen those specific memories overnight.
Wow, really?
Yeah, while letting untagged ones fade. It's not sci-fi, it's proven science. Sleep prioritizes.
Okay, beyond facts and figures, what about learning physical skills, like playing piano or sports?
Sleep is crucial there too. The source says, practice with sleep makes perfect.
Love that.
There's a story about a pianist struggling with a tough piece, practicing like crazy, getting nowhere, then sleeps on it, wakes up, and nails it.
We've all had moments like that, maybe less dramatic.
Right. Studies confirm that the time spent asleep after practice is critical for consolidating and refining those motor skills. It helps explain improvements seen in stroke rehab, too.
What about pure athletic performance?
Sleep is called a potent and powerful legal performance enhancer. Get less than 8 hours, especially under 6.
Uh-oh. What happens?
Your time to physical exhaustion plummets like 10-30% faster burnout. Aerobic output drops. Muscle strength decreases, recovery takes longer. Plus, your injury risk goes way up.
So pro teams are finally paying attention.
The smart ones are, yeah. They're realizing sleep is a massive competitive edge.
And creativity.
Yeah.
Does sleep help us come up with new ideas?
Absolutely. REM sleep, in particular, acts as a creative incubator. It does this thing called Informational alchemy.
Alchemy.
Yeah, it blends ideas and concepts that seem totally unrelated when you're awake. It finds those non-obvious connections.
Like Mendeleev in the periodic table dream.
Exactly. Or Keith Richards waking up with the riff for satisfaction, Mary Shelley dreaming Frankenstein.
Wow. Are there studies on this too?
Yep, Stickgold's maze study is a classic. People who got REM sleep after learning a maze were 3 times more likely to discover a hidden shortcut later compared to those kept awake. Sleep unlocks insight.
Okay, the benefits are clear and amazing. But the flip side, the dangers of not getting enough sleep. This sounds like where things get really serious.
They really do. And it's a huge problem. Like 2/3 of adults in developed nations aren't getting the recommended 8 hours.
2/3. That's massive.
It is. And the consequences aren't trivial. They can be devastating.
Even lethal.
In rare cases, yes. There's a horrific genetic disorder, fatal familial insomnia, where you just stop being able to sleep, your thalamus degrades, and you die within about a year to 18 months.
That's terrifying. But that's rare. What about common causes?
The big preventable one is drowsy driving. It causes hundreds of thousands of crashes and deaths every year.
The sources had a shocking stat.
Yeah. In the U.S. alone, about 1 death every hour is linked to a fatigue-related crash. And get this,
What?
drowsy driving crashes cause more accidents and fatalities than alcohol and drugs combined.
No way. Combined. Why don't we hear that more?
It's a critical message that needs more airtime. And the risk isn't linear. It doesn't just gradually increase.
Mushrooms.
Yeah, exponentially mushrooms. If you've slept 4 hours or less, your crash risk is over 11 times higher. Think about drowsy truckers, too. The potential for multi-fatality accidents is huge.
Okay, besides lethal crashes, what about just our day-to-day thinking?
Severely impaired. That Dinges study is famous. Just 4 hours of sleep for 6 nights straight.
What did that do?
It tanks your performance as much as being awake for 24 to 48 hours straight. And here's the kicker. You don't get used to it.
You feel like you do, maybe.
You might feel less sleepy, but your brain function, your reaction time, your judgment, it's still shot. And you start having microsleeps.
What are those?
Tiny lapses into sleep, maybe just a few seconds. You might not even notice them, but your brain is completely offline during that time. Imagine that happening while driving or operating machinery.
Yikes. How does lack of sleep mess with our emotions? Mental health.
It basically throws your emotional brain out of whack. Your amygdala, the emotional reactivity center, becomes hyperactive.
So you react more strongly to stuff.
Yeah, especially negative stuff. And at the same time, your prefrontal cortex, the rational impulse control part gets muted, so you're more emotionally volatile, less rational.
Like a pendulum swinging wildly.
Exactly. And lack of sleep can be a direct trigger for episodes and conditions like bipolar disorder, pushing someone into mania or depression.
And that overlap with ADHD symptoms you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, that's a huge concern. Chronic sleep deprivation causes inattention, irritability, poor focus, bad decision-making. All symptoms that look a lot like ADHD.
Leading to misdiagnosis.
Potentially, yes. Someone might get put on stimulants like Adderall, which prevents sleep, making the root problem even worse. It's a vicious cycle.
Okay, what about the physical body? You said every system suffers.
Pretty much all of them. It's linked to a shorter life overall. Cardiovascular system, huge hit. About a 45% higher risk of heart disease with chronically short sleep.
How does it do that?
Overactivates your sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response. Your heart rate goes up, blood pressure rises, stress hormones like cortisol flood your system constantly. It wears down your heart and blood vessels.
And metabolism. Connection to weight gain.
Absolutely. Sleep loss messes up blood sugar control, pushes you towards insulin resistance, which is a step towards type 2 diabetes.
And appetite.
It flips the switches, increases ghrelin, the I'm hungry hormone, decreases leptin, the I'm full hormone, and it boosts endocannabinoids.
Like the stuff in cannabis.
Sorta, yeah, the body's own version. They give you the munchies, making you crave high-calorie carbs and sweets. Plus, you're tired, so less energy to exercise. Perfect storm for obesity.
What about hormones related to reproduction?
Big impact there, too. In men, just 1 week of short sleep can tank testosterone levels by an amount equivalent to aging 10, 15 years.
Wow. And women.
It reduces follicular-releasing hormone,
Yeah.
critical for ovulation, linked to irregular cycles, much higher rates of subfertility, like 80% higher risk, and even increased risk of miscarriage early on.
And our immune system. Fighting off colds and worse.
Sleep loss cripples it. You're about 3 times more likely to catch a cold if you're sleep deprived when exposed to the virus.
3 times?
Yeah. And vaccine effectiveness plummets. Your body might produce less than half the antibodies it should after a flu shot or hepatitis vaccine if you haven't slept well.
What about serious stuff like cancer?
This is scary. Sleep loss reduces your natural killer cells, NK cells. These are like the immune system's spies, hunting down and killing cancerous cells before they can form tumors.
So less sleep means fewer cancer fighters?
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Studies link poor sleep to increased risk for several cancers and potentially faster tumor growth and spread.
You also mentioned Alzheimer's disease. How does sleep tie in there?
It's a really strong link. Sleep disruption often shows up years before Alzheimer's symptoms do, and it worsens the disease progression.
Why? What's sleep doing?
During deep NREM sleep, your brain activates this amazing cleaning system, the glymphatic system. It flushes out metabolic waste products that build up during the day.
Including the amyloid plaques linked to Alzheimer's.
Yes, amyloid is one of the key waste products cleared out. If you don't get enough deep sleep, that cleaning process is impaired, allowing those toxic plaques to accumulate. Deep NREM is essential for this brainwash.
It even affects our genes, our DNA.
Yeah, chronic sleep loss literally changes how your genes are expressed. It's like the source says, doing genetic engineering manipulation on yourself.
That sounds bad.
It is. It also shortens your telomeres, the protective caps on the ends of your chromosomes. Shorter telomeres are a marker of faster cellular aging, so lack of sleep makes you biologically older.
So the overall message is just stark. Less sleep, shorter life, sicker life.
That's the bottom line from the research. Causal links to heart disease, obesity, dementia, diabetes, cancer, and these links hold up even when you control for other lifestyle factors. Sleep isn't optional.
Okay, so given how vital it is and how bad the consequences are, what's stopping us? What are the big barriers in modern life?
Well, modern society is just fundamentally out of sync with our biology. We've divorced ourselves from natural light-dark cycles. Historically, people might have slept differently, maybe in 2 phases.
Like hunter-gatherer patterns, sleeping soon after dusk.
Yeah, their patterns are quite different. Our rigid work and school schedules often just don't allow for enough sleep, especially for night owls.
And artificial light is enemy number 1.
A huge one. Edison basically canceled the night signal for our brains. That blue light from screens, LEDs, it slams the brakes on melatonin production.
Making it hard to fall asleep at a decent hour.
Exactly. What feels like insomnia is often just delayed sleep timing thanks to evening light.
And alarm clocks. You called them torture instruments earlier.
Well, they kind of are. They rip you out of sleep, often from a deep stage, which is really jarring for the brain.
What about our nice, comfy, temperature-controlled homes?
They can actually work against sleep, too. Your body needs to drop its core temperature slightly to initiate sleep easily. Keeping your bedroom too warm, like above 67 or 68 Fahrenheit, can interfere with that natural process. Cooler is generally better for sleep.
For people who really struggle, what about sleeping pills? You mentioned they're not great.
The sources are pretty damning. They offer minimal real benefit in terms of sleep quality. They impair memory consolidation, like with Ambien studies, and they carry significant risks.
Like increased risk of death and cancer.
Yeah, studies show significantly higher risks for all-cause mortality in certain cancers, depending on the drug and dosage. They are absolutely not the recommended first step for chronic insomnia.
So if not pills, what is the answer for true insomnia?
The gold standard is CBTI, cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. It's a non-drug therapy that helps retrain your brain and habits for better sleep.
More effective than pills.
Way more effective in the long run and without the side effects. It's what major medical associations recommend as the first-line treatment. If you can't sleep despite having the opportunity, CBTI is the way to go.
Let's talk workplace. How does sleep loss hit businesses?
Huge costs, billions lost in productivity every year. Something like $2,000, $3,500 per employee annually. That old sleep is for the weak mentality. It's just bad business.
Are companies catching on?
Some are, offering sleep hygiene programs, better lighting, flexible hours, even financial bonuses for getting enough sleep, like Aetna does.
What about in medicine itself? Hospitals.
It's a double whammy. Sleep-deprived doctors and nurses make more mistakes, which can be tragic, and hospitals themselves are often terrible places for patients to sleep noisy, bright, constant interruptions.
Even though sleep is key for healing.
Exactly. Simple changes, noise control, dimming lights, scheduling procedures thoughtfully can make a huge difference. Those NICU results with just dimming lights are incredible. Babies got healthier faster, went home weeks earlier.
And education, those early school start times.
Still described as lunacy. Forcing teens with their delayed clocks to start school at 7:20 a.m. is like waking an adult at 3 a.m. It crushes learning, mood, health.
But delaying start times helps.
Massively. That Adena study showed kids got almost 45 minutes more sleep and their SAT scores went up significantly. Plus, we need to address that ADHD misdiagnosis issue stemming from sleep deprivation symptoms. Sleep education needs to be in schools.
Can technology help at all, or is it just the blue light problem?
It can be part of the solution. Think circadian-friendly lighting, bright blue in the morning, warm and dim at night. Wearable trackers, if accurate, can give you personalized data.
Showing you how your sleep affects your day.
Exactly. Seeing that connection for yourself can be really motivating.
And bigger picture, public health.
The sources argue we should treat sleep like we treat vaccinations or diet, a core public health pillar. Educate people, track sleep health. The potential savings in healthcare costs and improvements in well-being are enormous.
Finally, that point about sleep deprivation is torture.
Yeah, it's a strong statement, but biologically sound. It argues that it's ineffective for getting reliable information. It ruins memory and judgment, increases false confessions, and it's profoundly harmful psychologically and physically.
On par with starvation.
In terms of biological impact and mortality risk if prolonged, yes, it's a severe assault on the system. The shift in military manuals reflects a growing recognition of this.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this up, this dive really shows sleep isn't just rest. It's this incredibly active, powerful state, essential for, well, everything. Learning, memory, creativity, emotions, physical health, how long we live.
And modern life just throws so many obstacles in its path. Artificial light, schedules, stress. It's a constant battle against our biology.
And that key takeaway, you just cannot recover lost sleep. That debt builds up and the costs are huge, often hidden until it's too late.
It really makes you pause and think about your own sleep, doesn't it? Like those simple tests the book suggests. Hey, can you fall back asleep easily mid-morning?
Right. Or do you need caffeine before noon just to function? Those are big red flags for sleep debt.
Definitely signs you might not be getting what your brain and body require.
Absolutely. So here's a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. Given everything we've discussed, how absolutely vital sleep is, and how much our modern world disrupts it, what's maybe one small, achievable change you could make starting tonight to start reclaiming this fundamental need and unlock all those incredible benefits.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Daily Review. We truly appreciate you joining us for your daily dose of literary exploration. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue to share these amazing books with you.
If you're enjoying what you hear, please consider taking a moment to subscribe, rate, like, and comment on any of the platforms you're listening from. This really helps support our channel and allows us to get better and bring you even more great content.
And if today's review sparked your interest and you're ready to dive into a copy of the book, please consider using the link in our description to make your purchase.
Not only does it make it easy for you to get your hands on the book, but it also directly supports our channel and the author, allowing us to keep bringing you more great content. Thanks again for being a part of the Daily Review community.